I planned an intimate wedding for 20, only to have my future mill invite her sisters without asking, ignoring our wishes completely. My fiancé, 23 years old male, and I, 23 years old female, have been engaged for nearly 3 years. We initiated the wedding planning process about a year ago and decided to have a small elopement-style ceremony. We intended to invite only our parents, siblings, and grandparents because we both dislike being the focus of attention. Additionally, I have rather complicated family dynamics within my extended family, and, to be honest, we simply did not wish to invest tens of thousands of dollars into hosting a large party for individuals whose presence we did not particularly value. For context, our ceremony will take place at a beautiful historical museum that has a limit of 20 guests for elopement ceremonies. We invited 19 people. If we exceed the 20-person cap, it will no longer be categorized as an elopement ceremony, resulting in the venue charging us an additional $3,000. We are financing the wedding ourselves. However, my mother has generously offered to cover the cost of the reception dinner, which will have a maximum capacity of 30 individuals. The relationship between myself and my future in-laws has always been somewhat tense. My future mother-in-law expressed her dislike for me even before we met, as she desired her son to marry within her racial background, Southeast Asian. For context, my fiancé is of mixed heritage, being half Asian and half Hispanic, while I am Caucasian. Consequently, she has harbored resentment toward me since the inception of our relationship. I had hoped this would change once she got to know me. Throughout our relationship, I have consistently treated them with kindness and respect. As a naturally reserved person and a people pleaser, I have not provided them with any justification to feel negatively toward me based on my personality. When we got engaged after a year of dating, she was furious and told my fiancé that she would not congratulate us. In time, she softened and did offer her congratulations when I was present. However, her demeanor has always been very pleasant in my presence, yet rather unkind when I am not around. After we informed my fiancé's parents of our wedding plans, his mother immediately became upset and insisted that we needed to invite the entire family. I suspect this is a cultural tradition, as it appears his family views weddings as a display of social standing. His parents incurred significant debt to facilitate their lavish wedding. We clarified that our chosen venue only accommodates 20 guests and that this arrangement was what both of us wanted for our wedding. Although she was visibly upset, she initially dropped the issue. However, it seems that she felt excluded from the decision-making process, as she subsequently began offering unsolicited advice on various details. She has dictated our color schemes, decor choices, menu selections, my fiancé's attire, insisted on a non-unplugged ceremony for the sake of photography, expressed discontent with our honeymoon destination, Costa Rica, and much more. I try to approach this with an open mind and consider that she may simply be enthusiastic about her first child's wedding, but it increasingly feels excessive. Recently, she revisited the guest list discussion. She indicated that his grandparents might not attend due to his grandmother's social anxiety and expressed her intention to invite her sisters instead. This was not a request, it was a notification. Although we were reluctant to deviate from our original plan, we informed her that once we collected all RSVPs, we would assess our total count and, if feasible, might consider sending out additional invitations. I was not particularly pleased with this compromise, as I do not want extended family members present. I envision an intimate celebration rather than a large gathering. Furthermore, I worry that his extended relatives may disregard the guest limit and assume they can bring their spouses and children, surpassing our limit. Nonetheless, I went along with this potential compromise, hoping that those we had initially invited would RSVP, allowing us to avoid readdressing the issue. We have just distributed invitations and are currently awaiting RSVPs, so we do not know the final guest count. However, it appears that my mother-in-law took this as permission to invite her sisters without consulting us. My fiancé's father warned us of her plans to invite them regardless. We contacted her to reiterate our strict guest limit and our preference for keeping the celebration to immediate family only. We also highlighted that it would be inequitable if his extended family were permitted to attend while mine were not. Not that I want mine there, but she does not need to know that. Additionally, we reminded her that my mother is footing the bill for the reception and has already budgeted for 19 guests plus the two of us, which is the utmost she can accommodate. Her reply. She had already invited her sisters and stated that this was so unfair to her. Unfair to her. When had she planned to inform us of her decision to invite whomever she wished to our wedding? She then doubled down, asserting that if her family is not allowed to join, she would attend the ceremony but skip the reception. I recognize this as a negotiating tactic, but it is distressing for my fiancé. More than anything, I feel utterly disrespected. She disregarded our desires, went behind our backs, and is now attempting to make our wedding about her preferences. My mother-in-law further argued that it was unjust to his family that they were not invited, claiming they aided in caring for my fiancé when he was a child. Strangely, we have interacted with his aunts at family gatherings, and they have been nothing but supportive. One even remarked that she wished she had opted for a small ceremony for her own wedding. Thus, it appears that the sole person truly upset by this is his mother. It doesn't seem that this is about desiring family attendance. Rather, it feels like an attempt to showcase her son's wedding as a status symbol, which I have previously noted seems to be customary in his family. I would never expect his family to contribute financially to our wedding, but wanting to display a wedding in which you did not contribute financially just feels inappropriate. Nevertheless, I may be overanalyzing. After witnessing how affected my fiancé was by the possibility of his mother not attending, I considered proposing that she pay the extra $3,000 to include more guests in the ceremony and share food costs with my mother. This way, she could invite her sisters. However, I realized this could escalate. She wouldn't limit her invitations to just her sisters, but would likely include their spouses and children, which would significantly exceed the 30-person capacity for our reception venue. That said, I am unwilling to compromise on our vision for our wedding. Am I the antagonist for refusing to negotiate? Edit, I feel the need to clarify that my fiancé is firmly standing his ground. All communication with her is conducted through him. We obviously discuss everything together, but I am not directly communicating with her. He agrees that we need to adhere to our vision. However, it is undoubtedly disheartening that he lacks his mother's approval for one of the most pivotal days of his life. I apologize if that was unclear initially. Story 2. Gifts really don't fix things. This is going to be lengthy, but only because I need someone's opinion, so I am trying to provide as much information as possible to get an unfiltered, honest response. Please disregard any grammatical errors. I am unsure how to begin, but I will get straight to the point. My best friend and I are growing apart. This is, of course, a fictitious account because I would feel embarrassed posting this from my main account, and this is essentially a last resort since I am unsure who to discuss this with. I even sought advice from an AI for help due to my desperation. And I truly do not want my best friend to discover this, as she might think I am merely complaining about her while I genuinely want to express my feelings, as I lack someone to confide in. My family is aware of our conflict, and I did cry in front of them, but there are so many other issues at home that they likely won't regard a minor argument between their child and her friend as significant. Now, let's get to the events that transpired. I have a best friend who is a kind person, sweet and all. Because of her nature, many individuals who previously disliked us now consider her a good friend. They confide in her, and I didn't mind until recently when she completely disregarded me. She claimed it was unintentional, but while we were at school, I was comforting another friend who was crying, and my best friend was preoccupied with her other friends. I occasionally glanced at her, wondering why she was not speaking to me when I was right in front of her. Additionally, this is unlike her behavior, as she typically leans on me and our other best friend. She is very comfortable around us, which made this situation rather strange. We had a great conversation just the day before. She was offering me study advice since our exams are ongoing, and then suddenly, she was completely ignoring me, and I don't understand why. It's essential to note that I tend to overthink, and whenever someone close to me stops talking, I immediately assume I have done something wrong and upset them. This is something my mother has advised me against, but I can't help caring so much. Back to the story. When it was time to leave, she waved goodbye, but I ignored her because I was upset. That evening, she called to inquire about what happened. I explained everything in the calmest and most polite manner I have ever communicated a problem. She apologized, promising not to ignore me in the future and stating she hadn't meant to do so that day. She even gave me a belated birthday gift. I tried to remain amicable and encouraged her to be more mindful next time. Today, she did the same thing again. She gave me my belated birthday gift, and I thanked her for it, but afterward, there were no hugs, no further conversation, nothing. She left with her new friends trailing behind her. I was more than just angry, but I called her myself to discuss it, or at least to try. Even after crying on the phone and explaining how I felt in detail, she insisted that I was upset about a minor misunderstanding, even though I made it clear that it was significant to me. When I pointed out various aspects of the situation, she began to talk about how my feelings had hurt her. I pointed out that her actions had hurt me as well. She shed a few tears and expressed that she cares about me deeply and would try to improve, but then followed that with, "If you feel this way after a few days, perhaps you should just end the friendship." I feel lost on how to proceed because it seems she is not taking responsibility for her behavior, and she claims she does not understand how she is in the wrong. She did mention some personal issues affecting her behavior, but I reminded her, something she once told me when I was feeling frustrated, that even if one is upset or frustrated, it is not right to make someone else feel bad because of it, and that accountability for one's actions is necessary. I advised her that if she cares about me, she should demonstrate that concern not just through gifts but also with simple words or gestures, such as a hug. I am unsure if I am asking for too much since she is my best friend. Don't misunderstand. She has done wonderful things for me before, and she reminded me of that, stating that she has done this and that for me. I acknowledged that, but what about now? If she has done so much for me, why can she not extend this one simple gesture of reassurance and avoid making me feel excluded? Instead of suggesting we should end the friendship, why could she not simply promise to make amends? Although she did say that at the end, it didn't feel genuine. I cried while speaking to her perhaps 2 or 3 times, and she heard me sobbing. I was literally shaking as I spoke to her, with my heart pounding so loudly that it drowned out half of what she said. I was a complete wreck and communicated this to her. I don't understand how, when I am so affected by this and unable to sleep at night due to constantly thinking about it instead of studying, she still fails to grasp how I feel. I made sure to let her know I appreciate her gifts, but I added that maybe if you had talked to me immediately after giving me the gift, it would have made things better. She explained that she was in a hurry and felt ignored, which prompted her to leave early without speaking to me. I value her gifts, but honestly, at that moment, how could I? I was upset with her. I was feeling down, and she expects me to be grateful for the gifts when she departed so soon after. I wanted to scream on numerous occasions, but I tried to remain as calm as possible, not wanting to escalate this into an argument. I just hoped to convey how I felt and to seek some reassurance from her, rather than always hearing, "You're overreacting," "You are overthinking," or "You are being paranoid." I longed to hear her say, "You are right. I know this is my fault and I will try to amend it." Though she made such a statement at the end, considering everything that happened, it lacks sincerity, particularly since I later sent her a text essentially drafted by the AI I consulted for advice. I initiated the conversation with this response along with a voice message. I'm not very expressive about my feelings, and even while writing this, I feel as though I have omitted many details. However, I am attempting to cover everything to the best of my ability. I intended to share with her that this is how I feel, and this is what I wanted to express. I understand I struggle to articulate my feelings well, which is why I am sending this. In my voice message, I also stated that I do not wish to end our friendship at all, and she should not place the burden on me to decide whether our friendship continues. Yet I do not know why she has not replied to that text, and I find myself questioning whether she cares anymore. Just a few days ago, she was so kind to me. I don't know what has changed. Thinking back, there have been prior instances where I felt excluded, and I communicated those feelings to her immediately afterward, crafting lengthy paragraphs explaining my emotions. She did make me feel better the following day and did something special for me, but I cannot comprehend why this pattern keeps repeating. If I voiced my concerns once before and everything returned to normal, why is it happening again? And why must I bring it up repeatedly, cry about it on the phone, and still feel miserable. I do not know what she is contemplating or enduring personally, but I am battling my emotional turmoil. I find myself crying over this every night. The pressure of exams coupled with anxiety about this issue is overwhelming. In conclusion, I want to know if I am at fault in this situation. Should I reach out to her again? More importantly, is this friendship worth preserving? Story 3. I think that my changing relationship style is leading to an end, and I don't really care. I, 35 female, have been experiencing a significant amount of challenges recently. I ran out of my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder medication a while ago, and my impulsive, dopamine-seeking behaviors have really surfaced. I have been binge eating and excessively indulging when I visit bars. I have gained a substantial amount of weight over the past few months, and my self-image has taken a hit. I recognized that if I simply improved my diet, I would return to a healthier weight. Some background for the remainder of the narrative. This context is crucial, I assure you. I have been in non-monogamous relationships for several years now and have a few partners whom I deeply care for, with one of them living with me. Transitioning to this lifestyle a few years back has been incredibly beneficial for me. During my past monogamous relationships, I was highly insecure, which resulted in profound feelings of jealousy. I never felt sufficient for my partners, constantly comparing myself to other women. I explored the concept of ethical non-monogamy for years before choosing to embrace it, and it proved to be a remarkable change. Although I still experience insecurities, they are not nearly as intense as they once were. I no longer compare myself to others as frequently because I understand that my partner's attraction to different individuals does not reflect their feelings about me. Overall, I have felt much healthier and happier during these past few years of being openly non-monogamous. Now, here is where I made a mistake. A few months ago, a friend of mine, 39 male, went through a breakup. We had always had a great rapport, and we became much closer after his breakup. He has genuinely become one of my closest friends. Naturally, even though he is monogamous and I am non-monogamous, we started to hook up. We have communicated well and are both fully aware that this arrangement is not going to evolve into anything more due to our differing relationship styles. Neither of us would demand the other to change. What I did not foresee was change occurring unexpectedly on its own. As I mentioned, I have been quite content as a polyamorous individual. There are ups and downs, and the transition itself has been challenging because, well, any significant change is difficult and painful, even when it results in positive outcomes. I have encountered situations where I became somewhat involved with someone who ultimately desired to end things due to differing relationship styles. While these situations are never enjoyable, they are manageable, and we simply transition back to being friends. So, what on earth is going on with this guy? Why do I feel differently? I have been experiencing an internal shift over the last couple of months. I have been trying hard to dismiss it as, I don't know, an overabundance of excitement, intense feelings due to being off my medication. I anticipated that these emotions would fade away, as they usually do, but instead, they are intensifying. I am realizing that this person evokes feelings in me that I have never experienced before. Even the way I think has been evolving. I have noticed that he consistently makes me feel entirely safe and secure. I know he is honest with me and I trust him implicitly. I have never trusted anyone this thoroughly before. Additionally, I tend to overthink excessively, especially at night when trying to sleep. About a week ago, I was lying in bed, caught in my thoughts and unable to sleep, so I decided to dwell on him because he makes me happy. My mind quieted down. I relaxed completely and drifted off to sleep. No one has ever made me feel so tranquil. While these feelings are wonderful, if we remain friends, they will not vanish. I can experience them for my best friend. The real issue lies in the changes occurring within me. Since I grew closer to him, I have barely seen any of my other partners other than the one I live with. I have not wanted to. My sexual relationship with my live-in partner is nearly non-existent. I enjoy attending extravagant social gatherings with friends, where I typically dress provocatively and receive attention. However, during the last few occasions, even when people approached me, I found myself thinking solely of him, and I wanted nothing to do with anyone else. I only desire his affection and to be around him constantly. All of this has escalated and spiraled out of control. It reached a peak recently when he expressed a desire to pause the physical aspect of our connection because he truly needs my friendship while navigating his current challenges, and he has been experiencing conflicting emotions. Naturally, I am fine with him wanting to put a hold on the physical part of our relationship. His comfort takes precedence over my desire for closeness. However, perhaps this situation compelled me to confront these feelings I have developed. I feel utterly lost. I have been crying frequently because I believed I had constructed a healthy lifestyle, yet these feelings are exceedingly powerful. I have never experienced what could be classified as healthy monogamous emotions before. I thought they were unattainable for me. However, I have always longed for that one person who represents everything to me as I do to them, romantically. I didn't think such a connection could ever be possible for me, and I had come to terms with that aspect of my life. It is incredibly confusing to find someone now who evokes the feelings I have always yearned to experience. I recognize that if I choose to return to a monogamous lifestyle, it does not necessarily mean that he and I will become a couple. He has just endured a traumatic breakup and has many other stressors to manage. Nevertheless, I am left to contemplate whether my life is on a path toward leaving non-monogamy behind, or if it is just him with whom I would willingly and happily embrace monogamy. In any case, to bring this back to the title of the post, everything feels as though it is spiraling out of control for me. I am exhausted by these swirling thoughts and emotions. I cannot answer most of these inquiries because it requires time and significant effort, yet they continue to occupy my mind. I have resumed my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder medication in hopes that it would help clear my thoughts. I forgot that they suppress my appetite. The first time I began taking them, I lost about 60 pounds in a month and a half. I have not eaten for 2 days. I somewhat enjoy this feeling. It seems like something I can control at the moment. I recognize that it is unhealthy. I acknowledge its harmful nature. Still, I intend to utilize this opportunity to lose weight. I will ensure that I eat daily, but this is the only aspect in my life where I feel I have some control. Perhaps if I start to visibly lose weight, I can at least feel better about something. So, yes, my relationship style may be changing again, and I cannot cope with it, so I do not care that I may appear to be entering the early stages of an eating disorder. I am fully aware that I am not well. I would love to see a therapist, yet I cannot afford it. I am doing my utmost to keep my head above water. I have contemplated distancing myself from reality frequently, but not in a crisis-driven manner, and managing my food intake distracts from those thoughts. At this moment, it feels like the lesser of two evils. Therefore, I will accept it. Thank you for taking the time to read this. I hope your day is better than mine. Story 4. At my 26F wit's end, trying to understand my partner, 29M. I am feeling extremely anxious at the moment because it seems that my partner only offers the bare minimum when he is upset or angry with me. Last night, we had a significant disagreement that stemmed from my reaction during a video game we were playing together, where I expressed unnecessary frustration about certain in-game events. He told me that I was incredibly toxic and that he could not tolerate this aspect of my behavior. He mentioned that none of his friends have ever been so caustic and ultimately ended our call. We are in a long-distance relationship. For the record, I did not use any profanity or make belittling comments. It was more about questioning why he was giving up and why he was throwing the game, asking him what he was doing and questioning some of his choices during the game. I called him back after he stated he was over it because I needed clarity, as it sounded quite ominous. He mentioned that he was not feeling it and did not want to continue extending his patience any further. We had previously broken up for 6 months last year because, in my opinion, we repeatedly fell into what I consider an anxious avoidance cycle. He had ghosted me after a significant argument where I said something inappropriate, again, not swearing or undermining anyone, but still inappropriate. When I recounted what had transpired in our last conversation to my friends and therapist, they agreed that my comment was inappropriate enough that they would have also become upset, but not to the degree of ghosting. He later explained, after we reconciled, that he had reached a breaking point after extending his patience for too long and could no longer endure it. He is in therapy and has mentioned that he is actively working on limiting his patience with others. He told me that he has been making a strong effort at work to return home early to spend time with me, despite the 3-hour time difference, and he finds it frustrating when I make comments like, "You never spend time with me," on weekends when he is gone for almost the entire day. We had agreed to spend Saturdays together, but that has not happened for 3 out of the last 5 weeks. During the past 2 weeks, I have been particularly ill, and he has made an effort to come home early each day to check on me and ensure that I am okay. I explained that I was merely pouting and exaggerating, and I did not actually mean to imply that he never spends time with me. It feels natural to me that if you truly love someone, you want to share all your free time with them. Given the time difference and the fact that when we do spend time together, it often consists of working on separate tasks on our computers while video chatting, I feel that we are lacking in genuine quality time. Personally, I believe weekends are the best opportunity to spend meaningful time together, do things like watch shows and discuss them, or just talk freely. It pains me to realize that expressing this makes him feel unappreciated for his effort to return home early during the week, and it is even more hurtful when he quoted me by saying that it is not just the intention that matters, but also how it makes the other person feel. I want to resolve this issue now that I see it, but I feel as though he may not really give me the opportunity. Now he has been away since this morning running errands, and although he said good morning and shared his location while returning, he still has not reached out to me since arriving home. I am uncertain whether I should reach out tonight to check on him or if this is a signal that he needs space. I am genuinely anxious because I am interpreting his lack of communication as a sign that he may be finished. I do not believe this would have hurt as much had I not felt so blindsided. Just 2 days ago, we were discussing engagement rings, marriage, and the prospect of finally moving to the same city to be together. He was expressing sweetly that he loves me, now and forever. It is astonishing that he could make such a drastic change in such a brief time, but maybe I simply failed to notice earlier that he was already feeling this way. However, if that were the case, why hide it? Why did I not realize it sooner? Why not approach me earlier with his concerns, giving me the chance to address them? Perhaps I should have picked up on these signals sooner. Maybe I am genuinely a toxic person. What is also perplexing is that we have had a conversation about how to handle conflict more effectively, as I believe our conflict resolution styles are quite different. He tends to shut down and ghost, which is somewhat alarming in a long-distance relationship, whereas I find it impossible to pivot to anything else before resolving an issue. We discussed how I would give him time as long as he communicated how much he needed, and I would practice granting him space. However, I would like him to work toward becoming comfortable with discomfort and discussing the issues with me. I also mentioned the importance of being more verbally appreciative of his efforts and expressing my gratitude instead of keeping it internally. At the end of our conversation, I asked him if there was anything else I had overlooked, and he replied, "Nope, not at all." The day before yesterday, I spontaneously expressed how much I valued him for taking care of me over the past 2 weeks while I was sick and returning home early, and how grateful I am. This genuinely came from a place of realization and love, and I wanted to share that with him. However, when it was brought up again during our difficult conversation, he said it felt strange and uncomfortable, which weighed heavily on my heart because now I feel like I have to time my expressions of appreciation carefully. I am uncertain about how else to be supportive at this stage. I feel as though everything I do or say is wrong, and despite my sincere attempts to be supportive, I appear to be making things worse. He went on to say that when I ask him about his day or express my gratitude, it feels performative and superficial. I clarified that I am simply not accustomed to asking people about their day. My interactions with friends and family have typically been more spontaneous and free-flowing, making my inquiries feel awkward due to my unfamiliarity with them, even though I am genuinely interested and care deeply because I love him. I now realize that it's not merely about showing appreciation that I need to improve, but instead, ensuring that I do not make him feel unappreciated through expressions like, "You never spend time with me." I keep blaming myself, but at the same time, some frustration has begun to build because I wonder why I am always the one left feeling guilty about my actions and feeling abandoned due to the lack of contact every time we argue. I then start to spiral, thinking that perhaps he also feels bad about my actions, but he does not voice it because he is patient and I am not. Perhaps it is my responsibility to work on being more patient and enduring this pain, as he clearly needs his space. Honestly, at this point, I am at a loss for what to do and could use some guidance.